Hello everybody, this is Lamalama, and this is just to let you know that this is for me, self-growth, and some other stuff, just kind of talking about my story, my past. This is not for everybody, this is for some audiences, or should I say, not really any audience, this is for me, so go ahead and click off. If you want to listen, that's fine, but this is just, keep in mind that this is not a story that is for everybody or just for people in general necessarily. It's just, like I said. Anyway, I'll pause so everybody, you can click off. Alright, so this is more of just kind of me listing off the top of my head everything that kind of went wrong from a body perspective. So it's weird because I had the eye issue, the lazy eye, then I have the color blindness. Then I have, I had asthma. I had a ton of allergies, so I had to have an inhaler. I was put behind because of the lazy eye, like a year and a half almost. And I remember, Ryan had some issues too. So I remember going to the doctor, and Ryan had worse allergies than I do. I remember him licking a popsicle and. He's just a little kid and he loves sweets, and his tongue's bleeding because he's eating this orange, and I can tell because the orange, there's red on the orange. There's a couple, and I tell him to stick out his tongue, and he's allergic to shit. So we got all kinds of issues going on. So asthma, allergies, lazy eye, color blindness, scoliosis would later become an issue. Just a bunch of things, really. We're finding out that there might be a blood disorder that runs in the family, which is interesting. I'm flat-footed, so it's just kind of a plethora of issues. The asthma one was kind of more of an issue because, it's asthma. You can easily just get yourself killed. So there's a lot of issues running around, and I didn't really particularly notice a lot of them, besides the eye and the asthma mostly. So it was interesting. It was interesting growing up, and we all had issues. But this story is gonna kind of go into something I feel guilty about. Was we were at a Chinese food place, and we were horsing around, and there was a small oil puddle on the floor outside in the parking lot, and the car door was open, and I jumped over, and my mom had told me not to, well, not really to, just to avoid it, not to jump over it. But Ryan decided to copy me, and he did, and he landed and he slipped on it, and he hit his forehead on the car door. And he cracked his forehead open. So here I am with basically somebody I would claim to be my best friend in the world, because my mom didn't really pay attention. She didn't really raise us. I raised my brother for the most part, in my opinion. Telling him stories, go to sleep when he was crying. I remember rolling down the slide backwards just to stop him from crying, to laugh him. I remember I used to hurt myself just to get him to smile, because sometimes the situation was just so bad, and it's not like he could go to, my dad was at work, and my mom, she didn't really care. So, and he was her favorite child anyway, and she still didn't care. But so yeah, and he cracked his forehead open. I just remember, I had blood on my hands, completely before, and the fact that my best friend could be just dying. As far as I could tell, he was dying in front of me. He's your brother, he's your little brother, and he's who you care about pretty much the most in the world, because obviously you don't really get along with your mother. And so there I am, holding napkins to his forehead, and my hands are just covered in his blood as it soaks through the napkins as we drive to the emergency room, and he has to get stitches in his forehead. And I just remember being so terrified at the age of like 6 or 7. I think I was, yeah, somewhere around there. It drives home that, not to take anything necessarily for granted, and that the world is very dangerous and it's scary. It was really scary. I can't even imagine how he felt, and I felt horrible for having jumped over that oil puddle. Something as so small as, and, I feel like a lot of my childhood was disappeared real fast because, stuff just kept happening. And the world, he was my world. He was who I protected. He was who I was taking care of. He was my best friend. He was everything. And obviously he survived and everything. But I felt horrible about it. I was also terrified. I was also a kid, but yeah, so it was, growing up was interesting. And I feel guilty about that, and having jumped over that and him getting hurt, and I felt like it was my fault. I, to a degree, still think it is, but it's, I was young, so it's like, but I don't know if that's an excuse, really. Yeah, so